is a petri dish. Everybody's going to need an empty petri dish and one microscope slide.
Oh, you were right.
And 3 cover slips. The cover slips are the small squares of plastic.
Told you, get me some.
Those, every person,
Thank you.
1 empty dish, 1 microscope slide, and 3 cover slips, bits of plastic for every person. We'll slowly start as a way of inspiring people to complete the Lichen episode. We're going to make a piece of apparatus. That's where the best experiments come from, where you make your own apparatus. If you make your own equipment, then nobody can copy you because they don't have that piece of equipment. I like to make my own equipment. That way I know nobody's going to get the jump on me.
But they can steal.
Thank you.
I do. I always do it. I always do it behind a locked door with the light out.
I got.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them.
There you go.
Oh yes, you have. You want to do it again? You could either do it again, or you could take the time off and drink coffee. If you want to do it, it's an option for you.
Yeah.
Taking a video. On YouTube.
You're also going to use, in a way that I'll explain soon. Don't worry that you can't read this. This is from me, really.
Won't this be in the way?
You're also going to use, all of you, you're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
That's
10.
true.
Yes, you can use a bit of agar, where there are 2 agar plates for all of the small tables, and 3 for the big tables, because you're going to share petri dishes in a way that I'll show you quite soon. That's good. That's good. I'll see you next time. What? You got 2 actually. Oh, I know, it's pretty thin. Here's a petri dish you can share. Here's a petri dish you can share and a saucer.
What grade did you get on the resin design? The one that we passed on Wednesday.
Can you grade mine?
Did you grade yours?
Yeah. I got 24.
Out of
25.
We're going to share, because you only need a little bit of agar. When you're ready, I'll start talking about what we'll do and why. A new pack of cover slips.
I keep on starting and stopping my recording because I feel like he's gonna start talking and then he's like
3 cover slips, which we're going to make into a piece of apparatus to view fungi in a good way that's better than most people view fungi. For fungi, the ones that make small fruiting bodies, the ones that make microscopic fruiting bodies, are hard to see under the microscope if your method is to find them, grab them, and put them under a microscope, especially put them under a cover slip, because those fungal fruiting bodies are very brittle and they break easily, and they break easily on purpose because the fungus produces a fruiting body that grows upwards. It grows upwards from the mycelium, grows upwards so that it's high enough to catch the breeze, and then it produces produces these spores that are strong enough that they can stick together for as long as it takes for a breeze to work itself up, but they're brittle and weak enough so that the slightest breeze will make them crumple and blow far away to the next county or the next continent. They definitely break when somebody like us goes to them with a pair of forceps or a needle and tries to extract them from their place, and put a cover slip on top of them. They're bound to break. In addition, as we're going to see, the fungal fruiting bodies are usually in an orientation in the natural order that's difficult to understand. We are going to overcome both of those problems using the piece of equipment that we put together. And we're going to use two ways to improve the usual results that people have when they try and see fungi. We are going to view our fungi in what's called in situ. We're going to view our fungi in situ. We are going to purposefully cultivate them on a microscope slide so that we don't need to disrupt and destroy the environment and smash things up and break the brittle fruiting bodies. And we are going to avoid this kind of a situation. Here's my drawing of the fungal fruiting bodies. Here's maybe a better drawing of a typical fungal fruiting body that's producing dry asexual spores. They produce an upright structure, and they produce branches and branches and branches of hyphae that pinch themselves off to make a whole lot of spores all over the fungal fruiting body. This is like a slice through the fungal fruiting body, but you can imagine there are spores left and right. There are also spores into the screen and out of the screen, very brittle, and if you touch them in even the slightest way, there's a transformation from this kind of a fungal fruiting body, which is it's less damaged, to the kind of fungal fruiting body where either all of the spores have been lost, these little knobs here, they're supporting structures for spores, or maybe most of the spores have been lost. And quite a detail is not appreciated by most people. We're going to grow our fungi on the microscope slide to avoid all of that damage that comes from manipulating the fungus. In addition, we're going to examine the fungi in profile, not plan view. I'm referring to, architects' drawings. They've got a floor plan. And the floor plan, that's got a plan view of the building. It gives you an idea of the layout of the building. It doesn't show you what the building looks like. If you saw it after it was built, if you saw it in profile view, if you were walking down the street past that building. And that's important because any creature, including a human being, is utterly unidentifiable if you look at it in plan view. And for this photograph, you have absolutely no idea who this is. Because all bald men, they look like this when you see them from above. And if I show you the second photograph in profile view, it's me! You can't tell that from the plan view. There are important structures in the fungi that you can only see in profile view that we will be able to see because we're going to grow the fungi on a slide and we are going to force that fungus to grow sideways so that I won't lie down. But if somebody was looking at me through a giant microscope and I was forced to go like this and lie across the bench, then they would see me in profile view if I was forced into the orientation of along the bench top here. We are going to force our fungi to do that. And then we are going to view our fungi after they have been growing for the amount of time that it takes for fungi to get themselves together. That's not like bacteria, where we can get colonies in a few days for fast-growing bacteria. We'll need to wait for will need to wait for a few weeks of growth of imposed profile view, and then we'll be able to take our piece of equipment, put it on a microscope, and see fungus growing. We're going to, firstly, make some apparatus. And we are going to make apparatus that looks like this, with great difficulty. This will be awkward because we need to cut agar, and we want to cut the agar with sterile instruments, a sterile instrument. And if we use a convenient object for cutting, that's a knife, if we sterilize it by heat, it'll take a long time to cool down. So we're going to use our inoculation loops, which are less convenient than a knife. We're going to use them anyway because they heat up and cool down very, very easily. And we can cut and then sterilize and cut and then sterilize, and it'll end up faster than if we used a knife, but it'll seem quite awkward. You are going to assemble the apparatus that consists of, like the big rectangle that I am illuminating. You're going to use a microscope slide, and you are going to cut squares of agar and put them on the microscope slide. You're going to cut squares of agar that are approximately 0.5 centimetre smaller than the size of the cover slip, so that you can have on your on your microscope slide 3 in red, 3 in red, 3 in red squares of agar that you cut from your agar plate using a sterilized inoculation loop. You're going to put those 3 bits of agar on top of the slide, and then you're going to put a microscope slide on the top of them so that you obtain something that is similar to what previous generations of students have called a wraparound lanai for the agar. There will be agar under the cover slip, and there will be a gap. If I say wraparound lanai, does that make sense? This is like the cover slip, it's like a flat roof, and underneath the flat roof at the edge is space for a fungi to grow. That doesn't make sense. My previous generations of students must have put me wrong. We'll just stick to geometry. Have a square of agar.
Then cover it with
Then cover it with
Like an
a
ice
cover
cream
slip.
sandwich.
Like an ice cream sandwich. You know, I'm going to say that to the next generation, and they're going to say, what?
The agar is the ice cream.
And our aim
So we
is to
have
have
to
the
put
agar,
it under.
the agar under the cover slip, so that when fungi emerge, they can't grow up and straight at us. They've got to grow sideways, and because of that, we'll see them in profile view. Yes.
Are we placing fungi?
Yes, that'll be my next instruction. Could you please put together the apparatus? It's going to be awkward. Could you cut the squares using your inoculation loops after you've sterilized them? Approximately square is needed, but a gap between the agar and the edge of the cover slip, that's very good to have. Possibly you're going to burn your fingers. Is it burning your fingers? Yes. Okay.
How am I removing it off?
In the past, when I've done that, I've melted my fingers.
How are we going to scoop it? Oh, perfect. Good job.
We've got a good amount of time to do this, so
How did you
don't
get
be
it?
flustered.
Oh, we're cutting straight down.
I'll tell you when to be flustered. With extreme difficulty. Avoid avoid the edge of the agar where there's a meniscus that slopes upward. Avoid the edge of the agar. Yeah, it is. Look at the cover slip. See how small this cover slip is. If you run out, I'm definitely going to give you more
It's
agar.
like gelatin.
But if you use up all the agar, you're doing something a little bit wrong. So that's why I hesitate when I seem to be mean.
Oh my god. Do this like this, right? Yeah. And then put it under.
Okay, like this big?
You can hold the cover slip near to the agar and get an idea, and you're going to tell me if it's good.
It's probably too small.
No, it's okay. I think it's okay. Now, you're using an agar plate with bacteria on it. Use the new agar plate.